There you go, Tony. Start your meeting.
Okay, welcome everybody to the September 27th meeting of the Southampton Village Planning Board work session. Looks like we have a quorum, so we'll get started. The first item on the public hearing list is 137 Cooper's Neck Lane. Do we have anybody in the audience that wants to chime in on this?
Well, I think
wait a second. Right.
we closed the public hearing. I circulated a draft determination. If anyone has any comments, they can send those to me. Otherwise, we'll be ready to adopt that at our next public meeting.
Okay.
We should probably have the agenda updated to show that that's not a public hearing in time for next week, because that public hearing was closed.
I think it was.
It was closed subject to written comment. I believe it was 3 days later that.
No, I mean, I think the agenda was updated.
Oh,
Do I have the wrong agenda?
Okay. I didn't receive one that had it. It still was under public hearings, so.
Yep, I didn't either.
Alice, do you want me to send a note to the building department on that?
1 second, I'm just checking. Yeah, so I pulled the agenda from the website and it was correct.
Okay.
It says 2-lot subdivision pending decision.
Great. Yeah, Jackie had said she was going to fix it, but I guess she just didn't circulate it to everyone.
Yeah.
That was the only change, though.
Well, I've been checking the website to make sure that the agendas go up.
Great.
So,
Am I working with the wrong agenda?
yes.
Okay.
I think that's probably the only difference, though, Tony.
Yep.
I don't have an updated one.
Here, let me show my screen so you.
All right, sorry.
Problem. Okay.
No, that's the one that I have.
Okay. Yeah. So this is not the correct one. This is no longer under the public hearings, but otherwise it should be the same.
Yeah, that looks like, excuse me, the only difference to me.
Okay. So this was the draft that Alice circulated.
Yep.
I just added a watermark so that way it was clear that this was a draft. Let me know if you want me to scroll down or anything.
It looked in order.
Okay. So if everybody's okay, I will just, Alice, I can make the change to the header because it right now says draft planning board decision for consideration, and then resend that around. You want?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Kathy.
Sure. Of course. Okay, next one.
Okay, so is that it on 137?
I think so.
All right, and I also have on my agenda 689 Halsey Neck under public hearings.
Yeah, that's on for public hearing. And as we were talking about before, Alice will get the notices from Jackie during the week and make sure that they've noticed it properly, and we'll hold the public hearing on Monday.
Okay. So is the board okay with, do we require any more discussion on these two items?
Nothing here.
Okay. All right, let's move into site plans. 7 Powell Avenue is adjourned until November. 51 Pond Lane, applicant has requested adjournment. We all know that that's sort of working its way through the trustees right now. Actually, it has worked its way through. So I'm going to recommend that we move right on to 71 Hill Street,
Okay.
because we've got some considerable review there.
So there should be members in the audience that have requested to make a presentation.
Dee Dee Moan is coming over,
Okay.
and somebody that's listed as Southampton Inn, I'll bring over. So Dee Dee should be in. Dee Dee, if you're in, put your speaker on.
Stop sharing for a minute.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Dee Dee is not Dee Dee. Or rather Southampton Inn. What is your name, sir?
Yeah, this is Justin. I don't know if I can update it or if you can form.
Okay, I'll do it. Are you with the Southampton Inn?
I am, yes.
Okay. Justin what?
I think I can do it, right? Better than me spelling it.
I just-
Yep, there you go.
Hi, Dee Dee.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity of explaining and then listening and trying to see how this site plan does for our village. If I take 2 minutes and just very briefly explain the project and then turn it over to Linda Riley on the legal, Jack Coogan, who's the architect, Brian Grogan, who's the civil engineer doing the sewer treatment plant and drainage, and then any other questions you may have. And Justin is from the inn and he's going to hold up drawings for you. Will that work?
So actually, if the drawings are consistent with what was submitted, I would do that. I bring them on the screen. So
Okay.
Okay,
Great.
Dee Dee, do you want all these people in with you?
It's up to you. They will eventually come in.
Okay, I'll bring them in now.
But
So it was Brian Grogan. He's on his way in. Did you say Glasser was coming in?
no, he is from PW Grosser, and we have Jack Coogan from OCV Architect,
Okay, good. They're raising their hands now, which helps me out.
and definitely Linda Riley, our attorney.
You got it.
Great.
Mhm.
So Dee Dee and Justin, can you tell me how you're associated with the inn?
I'm the managing member of the partnership that owns 71 Hill LLC, and I'm the owner of Long Island Hospitality Group LLC, which manages the Southampton Inn, and ultimately we hope will be managing 71 Hill. Justin is the general manager of the inn and keeper of all the slides and YouTubes and can answer operational questions.
Thank you.
Should I launch? Okay, I think. So currently 71 Hill Street consists of approximately 1.7 acres. It's zoned village business. It has, it's located east of the Southampton Inn and west of the movie theater on a couple of 100 yards from the intersection of Job's Lane and Windmill Lane. On it, from about 1986, we have 3 commercial buildings in a abstract Tudor. There's building CD, which is the north building, E and F, and E and F are smaller buildings and they face on Hill Street and are positioned overlooking a very, I think, a charming brick patio. There's a clock tower. The proposal now is to maintain buildings E and F. They're currently, again, all commercial. There's a potential, which I think we would love to be able to do, to convert the upper floors with a ZBA special use permit into residential. And then I'm proposing taking down building CD and replacing it with 2 L-shaped buildings, beautifully landscaped with a signature, almost Olympic lap pool in the middle. And those will contain 38 one-bedroom high-end hotel suites. That's it.
Is there any way to get this plan up on the screen or?
Yes, please. Justin, would you be able to do that for us?
No, actually, so is it this plan that you're looking for? Hold on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to step on your toes, Kathy. I certainly can share if you want, or if you have, that's great.
Yes. So and would you like to see the 200 foot radius map also. Is that helpful for you, or should we keep this one up?
That's here. So whoever is speaking can let me know what they want to see.
All right, well, this is the survey. Again, it's you can see the two buildings at the left side are buildings E and F. The building CD, the elongated building overlooking Viridian Way, is the one coming down. I think you have a survey, Justin, that will show what we're keeping, what we're proposing taking down, and then we'll just keep the site plan on so you can see what we're proposing to do. Does that work?
Yeah, it's Kathy's screen at the moment. Yeah, Kathy, page 2 of that 25-page packet is the survey.
Back it up a little bit. to the
Yeah, back
survey.
2 pages, I think, sorry.
Back one more.
There we go.
Okay. And you can see it in context with movie theater and with Southampton Inn on either side of this. And it's the elongated building, approximately 10,000 square feet, that is proposed for demolition and replacement with 2 L-shaped buildings that will have a use of hotel, which was, we have a special permit for that from the village trustees, rather than the commercial in accordance with the village business zoning. So now we can just go to the site plan. I think the proposal ties in with the existing master plan that was seeking a hotel motel / hospitality district for downtown, as well as year-round residential. It respects all of the existing zoning. There are no requirements for any variances. There is a requirement for ZBA to provide a special use permit to convert the top floors of the E&F into residential rather than the office uses, and also to put in the swimming pool, which I think is a pretty important part of a high-end hospitality venue for our village. I just think tourism is critical for the village of Southampton. During COVID, we've seen a whole lot more year-round activity, but if we reach back to 2018, 2019 and years prior, it's terribly seasonal. It's very hard to support the retailers and all the wonderful cultural institutions and some of the dining, the wonderful dining restaurants. And I think a little bit more hospitality with a very high-end set of finishes and larger spaces will provide just a boost economically on a year-round basis. And just very quickly, I'll close with the statistics. According to the Suffolk County Planning Commission, the Southampton Inn has generated approximately $5 million annually. It generates over $11.6 million in economic multiplier to Suffolk County. And it has paid, unfortunately, over $505,000 in various sales and occupancy taxes pretty much annually for many years. That would continue, but we would be adding approximately 60% as much, fewer rooms, but larger and higher price points, we think, for the ADR, average daily rates. And so it would become a very important and hopefully welcome addition to downtown Southampton Village. Thank you. I'd love to turn this over now to Linda Riley. Just brief summary of where we are procedurally and legally to go through this, I think, and then we'll go right to Jack for discussion of the plans with your questions.
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is a rather, there are 2 uses involved here, 2 major uses in this plan, which are the hotel use and the workforce housing use. Those 2 particular uses have a provision under section 116-9 of the Village Code that provides that the Village Board of Trustees can grant a special exception permit for those uses in the Village Business District. The statute goes on with some other criteria, but my point is that the village board did hold a public hearing on this. And on April 20th, they unanimously approved a resolution granting the special permit use for workforce housing and for the hotel use. They really weren't concerned with some of the other things that are involved here, including any other market force housing, which is also a proposed use. They did not specify, they did not have much specification in terms of exactly what they needed to see there. It is true that the plan that was submitted to them was different than the plan that is submitted to you. After the plan was submitted to them, Dee Dee had meetings with various people who, including members of the Board of Trustees and staff members at the village, I'm sorry, who expressed an interest in seeing some other things done. If it needs to go back to the Board of Trustees, we'll do that, but they basically approved already the special permit uses. So now we're moving on to Planning Board because I think it's important for the Planning Board, who will be approving the overall site plan, to get on board with the vision that is here now. We submitted a long form EAF parts 1 because it is an unlisted use and we thought it merited a long form. There's a lot of information contained in there. And it'll be, we'll be asking the Planning Board, I think, to assume lead agency status on this. I did ask the Board of Trustees back in April to assume lead agency status, and they deferred to the Planning Board. So it had the review has not been coordinated so far. They sort of did their own thing. And unless someone has some specific questions for me, I'll turn it over to Jack Coogan.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. I think Dee Dee laid it out pretty well in describing this proposal for a new hotel facility, new residential apartments and workforce housing. I think she's right in saying it's going to have a very big impact economically on the village, which will be very positive, yet it will have not such a big impact physically by virtue of the fact that it is kind of hidden up on Viridian Way and not really built up on the street, on Hill Street. The existing buildings on Hill Street, which are to remain, will look exactly as they do now. The commercial uses will remain at the ground floor. And it's just utilization of the upper floors, which right now aren't used for residential and workforce housing. And then behind those buildings will be in an area which is now has an existing building on, which is again, not fully utilized, and a parking lot, which is very little used at all and mostly just vacant. In that place, we plan to put up 38 apartment suites. Now these will be.
Jack, can we get the site plan, Justin? Maybe that would be good to look at the way the hotel lays out.
Which sheet would you like to refer to?
I believe it's at page 3.
Page 3, yeah.
Of the packet. Yes, thank you.
There it is. So the first 2 buildings remain up as they exist now on Hill Street with just a different occupancy on the 2nd floor. Now, this new hotel will be operated by the existing Southampton Inn. So guests will come to the existing inn and check in at the front desk there and then be directed to their room across Viridian Way. The buildings are actually, the facility is 2 buildings arranged around a central pool, swimming pool terrace. They face out onto either that terrace or onto Viridian Way. On the back side of the property will be the parking lot. Now, the parking lot is arranged to accommodate the radius of the largest fire response vehicle, and the aisle space is made wide enough to accommodate all those trucks. The parking is in the back to be out of the way, and the buildings are accessed either from Viridian directly into the lobby or from an entrance off the rear. The two buildings are divided into, there are 20 suites on one side, on the north side, and 18 on the other, a total of 38. They're basically the same way. They each consist of a one-bedroom unit with a deck or a porch that overlooks either the pool or Viridian Way, and that is screened by plantings to provide privacy and softening up the edges of the building. Their buildings are 2 stories in height with a half a story in the attic. There are 1-bedroom apartments on each floor with the exception of a studio apartment at the entrance of each building. So a total of,
These aren't apartments.
well, units, suites, sorry,
Thank
suites,
you.
studio
Hotels.
suites. So there are a total of 2 studio or efficiency suites and 36 1-bedrooms. They're arranged to be in a modular form that could be constructed off-site and trucked to the site and erected in a way that would be very quick and of little impact to, or less impact on the village in terms of the construction. Part of this, all the utilities will come off of Viridian Way as they exist now, gas, water, electric. The building will, and the site will take care of all its storm drainage on site through leaching pools, and all of the sanitary waste will go to a new sewage treatment plant to be put on site. That is being designed by P.W. Grosser, and Brian Grogan is here from P.W. Grosser, who can describe that in a little more detail. And I'd be happy to talk about, we have 25 drawings in this set. I'd be very happy to discuss any one of them as we go forward. The building itself, on the site plan above, you'll see the elevation drawing of the proposed buildings. And they will be designed in a traditional East End style of white clapboard picket rails and a shingle roof. We intend to have solar PV panels on the roof. We intend to have a highly efficient heating and cooling system, all electric in the building, using heat pumps. And as far as the sewage treatment and drainage, I'll turn it over to Brian to discuss that.
Yeah, hi. So as part of the overall site plan, we've done some preliminary drainage, broken the site up into its respective drainage areas based upon its use, and have provided drainage in accordance with the village requirements. With respect to the sewage treatment plant, we're designing the treatment plant to be consistent with the Appendix A of the Suffolk County Sanitary Code, which was recently modified for some reduced setbacks to commercial properties, which we're taking advantage of on this particular project. All these, wastewater will be conveyed from the various buildings through a combination of some low pressure sewer and gravity sewer. And as Jack indicated, we'll have some new utilities coming off of Viridian Way to kind of update everything in accordance with the needs for the new buildings. That's pretty much all I have in terms of the site plan. I think at this point we're looking to hear from the board and Kathy of any concerns and comments.
Thank you. I went through your environmental assessment form pretty closely, and I have some questions that I'd like to go over. And then I would also like to discuss the amount of workforce housing that you've included in the project. So is it okay with the board if I start with my environmental assessment questions?
Mhm.
All right, and then we'll move on to workforce housing and whatever Kathy might have to bring in as well. On the form, it says that the proposed action will not include any excavation. And I'm just curious to know how you're going to dig a pool and remove existing asphalt and stuff and not do any excavation.
That doesn't seem right.
Do you have the most recent EAF? I hope you do. Is it, where does it say that?
It's on page 4 of 13, section
Page
D2.
4D2.
Yeah, Tony, that's incorrect. We actually,
That's-
that
yeah.
needs to be modified. I mean, there's obviously no mining from a standpoint of like a sand mining operation. But there will obviously be excavation for the leaching pools, the swimming pool itself,
Okay.
as well as the main facility.
And the foundations too, right?
Correct.
Right. So would you revise this to
Yep, we'll revise
tell us
that.
how you're
Yep.
going to deal with those
Yep.
spoils and
Sure.
and on that issue, considering drainage from the driveways and stuff, would you consider maybe doing some sort of swale system for drainage rather than the traditional dumping all the runoff into the groundwater situation?
I mean, normally I'd love to, but I mean, we're kind of constrained on this particular property with respect to green space for swales. We may be able to integrate some possible for like, say, like rainwater harvesting for irrigation kind of situation, where we may be.
But what about just pitching the driveways toward that sort of eastern edge where it looks like you have landscaping?
We have some landscaping, so it's possible that we can direct some stormwater that way towards the landscape areas and do a smaller swale with an overflow.
I'm just putting it out there because I'm the environmental guy.
Yep, no, that's fine.
And I would love to see, rather than defaulting to our traditional methods of dealing with stormwater runoff, if we could look a little further into how to deal with these things in a more environmentally sound way.
Sure.
All right, so I'm on page 8 of 13.
Yep.
And it says, will the proposed action commercial, blah, 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 blah. You're just saying that you're going to use minimal pesticides to manage the proposed and existing landscape. And I was wondering if you could expound on that a little bit.
Sure. Again, I mean, there's not a whole lot of landscape here. I mean, a lot of it is more ornamental plantings. I think there's a full-blown landscape plan as part of the site plan package. So again, we're not looking like we're, for argument's sake, running a golf course. So there's really going to be minimal management of the landscape. It's mostly native plantings. So I don't think there's anything in there that's going to need anything in particular. In terms of like fertilizer and that kind of usage.
That's true.
Okay. Let's see, I have laundry written here, potential contamination history. Potential contamination history on page 10 of 13. I just have laundry written here. I'm not sure I remember why.
I mean, we have no known sources of contamination on the property.
I remember why. I'm curious to know, how do you handle laundry for the inn currently, and how do you plan to handle it for the possible new inns?
Currently, we have an in-house laundry in the lower level at 91 Hill Street, and that will continue to operate. For the new units, they will all have washer dryers within the suites, and we will have a brand new laundry with whatever we can get state of the art. If it's possible to reuse, we'll do gray water. If it's possible to have low flow in the machines, those are the things that we're going to be specifying. It'll be a lighter load. There will be no restaurant. There's no public areas. It's just 38 hotel suites. We think will be more, longer stays than we have at Southampton Inn. So it's not going to be as much cleaning for an overnight or a 2-night stay. Oh, and in addition, the new laundry will be discharging into the STP.
Okay. All right. The other thing is I noticed that this falls into an endangered bat species.
Those are our guests at 91 Hill Street.
And looking toward the environment and wildlife, would you consider bat houses? I think it could be an amazing sort of marketing tool for you guys, but anything that you could do to help birds and bats on site might be sort of interesting to investigate.
So at the Southampton Inn, we do encourage and welcome wildlife. We try not to have the deer come munch the plantings around the pool area. We would be delighted to deal with the monarch butterflies in a way that will have things welcoming them. We hope not to have the kinds of floral landscape that attracts bees, because we know that is in conflict for some of the hotel guests who may be allergic. Well,
if you're attracting butterflies, you're attracting bees. So,
but we have to, there's a balance. So it's only 38 units, which is very large for our village. It's not 338 units, but the inn and the management company mission is to be bringing people into the village to enjoy the wildlife, the recreation, the beauty, and anybody who's able to help us. And, if you can point to the things that are important to maintaining the culture and the historic fabric of the village are the things that we'd very much like to do. We have an organic herb garden at the Southampton Inn. We have Stephanie's garden at the north end of the Southampton Inn, which serves the restaurant to the extent that we don't have squirrels and birds eating the heirloom tomatoes. And we would probably try to use bayberry and blueberry, which we know they love, blueberry and raspberry, and maybe some inkberry plants, which are native. They don't require additional water use. And we hope that the local fauna and flora are going to enjoy and appreciate without destroying. But, as we move through this, sure, absolutely. If we'd like to put up some bat houses, I'm happy to do it. I'd love to do it and write about it. Thank you.
Okay. And I did make some notes about your landscaping plan, and I'd just like to encourage you to, there's an initiative underway in the landscape design community called 2/3 for Birds. There's a website, 234 Birds, that you could check into.
Sorry, what is it called? Something for birds? What's the website?
2/3 for the Birds.
2/3 for the birds. Okay.
Yep. It just encourages landscape designs to include 2/3 of the total plant material in the landscape to be native plant material, which will help support the local wildlife.
That's our intention.
Yes, that's absolutely.
Okay, so those are my only questions on this form, but my big question is the workforce housing. I think it's only 2 units.
Yes, at the moment, that is what the village trustees had requested, and we were putting 2 units in on the top of Building E, which was the old Merrill Lynch building, and now
I think
has
you
Valley
presented
Bank.
them with 4 units initially.
To my knowledge, it was 2 units. And then for Building F, which is the building at the southeast corner of 71 Hill Street property, we have 4 commercial office spaces. The second floor could, to me, I don't know whether Jack feels this way, but I feel easily could be converted from offices into year-round housing. I think the point of workforce is that there are various regulations. I'm nervous about how to attract people into the workforce housing units without endangering the economics of this project, which is, you know, I'm sure it's fine, but it may not be able to afford converting everything into workforce. And in addition, I think that the best projects are with housing, with mixed uses. I mean, not to have a concentration of what we call workforce housing within any one small area. The idea is to provide housing that's not $1 gazillion for people who work and live within the village of Southampton, because we don't have much of it, and we don't have a lot of places, I think, where we're able to put it in, to be able to afford to provide it for people. And that's what I would like to be able to do.
I'm
the
speaking for
designation-
myself, but I think that the other board members might want to see more than 2 units if possible. It's for a project of this size, and with workforce housing being one of the major
Selling
reasons
point.
why the trustee sort of approved this, it seems a little light on workforce housing to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that just the 2 units doesn't help much with our workforce, which so many are driving from farther up the island. I think it should definitely be increased.
So it is possible to take the entire commercial building, which has 8 suites in it now, 4 on the ground floor and 4 on the second floor, and convert all of it into residential units. We do have the STP sized to be able to accommodate residential use, to grow into that. So that wouldn't be an issue. But the economics will not be there, nor some of the feedback that I've received is year-round rental at reasonable rates is something I totally agree and believe in. The definition of workforce, it's for people who work. I think the agreement had always been for 2 workforce with quotes around it units that go with the conversion of the vacant lot and the older commercial building into hotel suites.
Alice, can we check? Is there a way to check into that, Alice?
Yeah, I think that we have a fair amount of inconsistencies here. So I might suggest that the board send a memo to the trustees to try to understand what the scope of their approval entailed, and maybe some clarification on the secret process, if any, because we need to understand what they've approved so we can be clear on what we're approving and what's before us.
I believe, again, having been through this, we were approved for the conversion, for the addition of hotel, which is a commercial use. It's compatible with the existing master plan to convert the building CD, which is offices, into more hotel suites. The 2 workforce housing units were going to be going on the top of building E. It's possible that I could put 3 in. They would just be smaller. These are very nice 1-bedroom units. They have elevator access. The idea of converting the top floor of building F into housing rather than commercial is, it's up there. It's out there. I'm happy to do it. I think it's the right thing to do, but it's not necessary. But it can't be made into some kind of economically constraining residential use to have the entire project for work financially, I guess.
So the approval that we saw from the trustees had 4 units, not 2. And they didn't have any conditions on the use.
That's,
and
you are right. You are correct that the plan that was submitted to the Board of Trustees did indicate 4 units altogether. there was some discussion about whether or not some of them would be just market rate year round. In the end, their resolution did not specify any number of hotel units or any specific number of workforce housing units. The resolution did not.
So
I think the memo is a good idea.
it's important for us to get that clarification from them to ensure that they did not have a specific number of units in mind when they granted that.
That's fine.
I can
Agreed.
just share, I can share the, I have the resolution here that was sent to me by Kathy Sweeney last Friday. And it says that it's an application to redevelop the property as a workforce housing development pursuant to Village Code Section 116.5G and a transient hotel. And it specifically notes the date of the site plan is March 19th, 2021. And Kathy also sent me a copy of this is my note here, plan referenced in the resolution for special permit. It does show this as being 4 apartments plus 2 workforce housing units, and then 2 workforce housing units on the corner.
So it has 6 workforce housing units in it? Oh,
No,
6 residential
4.
units?
4 apartments plus 2 workforce. I can zoom in a little bit more.
Well, that's what I'm suggesting is 2 workforce housing units per the somewhat fuzzy definition of what workforce means. And then as many residential units, which I believe is only on the 2nd floor, converting existing office suites into residential apartments. What they're designated in terms of workforce or year-round residential is, again, in my mind, it was 2 workforce and 4 residential apartments, which I think is a preferable use, more needed within our village.
Do you see
than
the,
maintaining.
can you see the plan that's up on the screen right now?
Well, that's wrong. Yeah, I'm sorry, 4 apartments and 2 workforce housing units. Oh, I see. So we have 6 units in building F and 2 workforce housing. That's incorrect. But if that's what the planning board wants, we can do that too. But then we get into needing to eliminate 2 more of the ground floor commercial units in order to accommodate that. And then I don't believe that's a special permit. I think then that's a change in use. As far as I know, 2nd floor above commercial just needs a special use permit to make it residential. But if we're going to convert the whole building into residential, then we're not in compliance with, again, this is Linda's thing and Alice, yours. I offer the properties the way they look with the same streetscape, the same square footage, the same cobblestone courtyard, brick courtyard. Whatever the zoning and the planning board and the trustees would like to see, but not an entire project of what they call workforce units.
Dee Dee, that's not what we're asking for, but this plan that's on the screen right now is what the village trustees were presented with, and it's how they made their decisions.
Okay.
Okay, we're not asking you to convert everything to workforce housing, but 2 units. All I'm saying is 2 units are a little light.
2
in my
units in
opinion.
each building.
Pardon me?
Are you okay with 2 units in each building of workforce housing as is depicted here?
I mean, I'm not going to make a decision tonight, but
Yeah,
I would like to see
we're
more
not going
than
to make
2.
this decision tonight.
I would like to see more than 2, and I also want the rest of the board to weigh in on this. I feel like I've done all the talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 38 units in the hotel, it seems like 2 units for housing, that doesn't even come close to how many people work at the hotel. Not even remotely close. So it should be a little bit, not a little bit, it should be higher.
I think the thought was that this is not housing for the hotel. This is workforce housing for the community. But we could
but
change the numbers and make it hotel housing if that's what is preferred.
But the profile of a person who would live in workforce housing is a person who would work at your hotel, correct?
No,
No.
I don't think that's a fair thing to say.
Oh.
My staff, pardon? This staff lives, not many in the village, some, many people, it's true, do live in East Quogue and Hampton Bays and Watermill.
But it's my understanding that workforce housing is affordable to someone who would have the type of job where they're working in a hotel.
Well, there's a definition in the code for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a definition in the code that it deals with the Suffolk County income, and it provides
Right.
that it should be 130% or not more than 130% of whatever the formula is. And
Okay.
and we would have to comply with the code in terms of the formula that's used to determine who's eligible or not. I understand.
Right,
Okay.
Right. And this would be for, these are small units. The workforce units that are shown are 500 square feet, a little over 500 square feet. So it's probably for a family of one. So there is a number that's associated with that would be useful maybe for the board to understand what these would be rented for. And what the others would be rented for too, that might be helpful to understand, that these are not going to be rented out at $10,000 a month, for instance, right? Are these going to be affordable, these market rate?
Yeah, and year round, I think is very important also.
That's a requirement of workforce housing. It has to be, this is their primary residence.
I think potentially what we should do is maybe speak with the village trustees, but and this is an unfortunate plan here. The plan is 4 apartments and 2 workforce housing units, which is how it's labeled. And again, it's looking as though it's double labeled on the workforce, which would have too many residential units then, if it were to be 8 residential units. What is it? 4 plus 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8. I think we can certainly discuss it. The concept is to not have offices, tertiary office space within the village, but to have lovely renovated year-round apartments for people who live and who want to live in and do work in the village. That's the way this has always been expressed. I think it would be lovely, but I think it's fuzzy in the presentation here. And I'll listen. The idea is not to have $8,000 and $10,000 residential units here. It's to have relatively small. The units are between 825 and 1,100 square feet of space. And the 2 workforce housing units, I believe, were 550 square feet. Jack can opine on that.
Yep.
On
the second floor of the building E.
Can you see that on my screen? Actually, I zoomed in the floor plans. So the site plan has 4 apartments on the second floor of building 4. And if this is correct, and 2 units are the workforce housing apartments on the building 3 proposed second floor. So if that's not correct, then we need to have this modified. If that's not the intention. So the corner building is building 3, correct?
Jack?
Correct.
Okay, so
This is our most recent proposal. And
This
it
is the
shows-
proposal.
This is the proposal that we put before you. The prior plan wasn't developed to this level. The prior plan from March didn't have actual floor plans in actually laying out the apartments in these buildings, given certain structural and height limitations of the existing structure and not wanting to alter the exterior, physical appearance of them, this is what we managed to fit within these second floor areas. That's why it may be different from the one from March.
Right, but we have to get clarification because that's what the trustees saw your version from March. They haven't seen this reduction of workforce housing units.
I'm just, I don't believe that there was a reduction of the workforce units, but there were no floor plans associated with the presentation to the village trustees back in March. That's correct.
The plan you submitted to us has 2 units. The plan you submitted to the trustees had 4. That's a reduction of 2.
Okay, we'll resolve that.
Okay.
We'll resolve that with the trustees.
So Alan, any input?
My view is that if you read the plan, the planning board did and finally got approved with enormous hurdles of about 10 years ago, anything to be done in the business district that can bring more workforce housing is defined, is desirable. There are lots of limits of floor space. The one that's being used most for political advantage is to use it as a lever for more plumbing in the villa, what I call more useful plumbing in the village. That is to say, an extra exhibit as to why you put a sewer district in, which only affects some of the village, not a lot of it, because it's a very thorny and expensive problem. I believe that the numbers, which we don't have in front of us, but we may get because of the stuff that's moving in this direction at the edge of the village. I think virtually every employee of the village doesn't live there. We have a tremendous disproportion of housing available at a price that's affordable for now, between the people that we all want to continue to sustain the quality of life that attracts enormous sums of money for real estate, the last bit of real estate that's going to be available that's new in the village, and for renovating what's there. It's a tough problem, and I think to solve it on this project, we could probably get some small trade-offs of, I think Dee Dee nicely said, these aren't very big units. They're constrained by what's there. They're trying to fit in at least some. Sure, if we can get a few more, it would be nice, but the trade-off is not going to make a major contribution to the larger problem that faces this tiny jurisdiction remaining, that is the village, not the town, the village of Southampton. So I'm willing to listen, and if Linda can get resolution of this issue with the trustees approving in their drive to get this plan that they adopted with great solemnity about 10 years ago advanced, hallelujah, it'll be nice. If it's a trade-off that can be lived commercially and otherwise with Dee Dee, it'll be great. But I don't think it's our decision to make the decision for the trustees or to weigh it, because we're a tiny detail in a larger picture. That's my long speech, but that's what I think about workforce housing. And anything here is better than another radio station.
Jane? Do you have anything to say, Jane?
I just would like to see, I understand that there's a definite formula for workforce housing. I understand that, just like low income housing. I think my main concern is more affordable year-round housing that maybe does not have a specific code to it. And I think if we had more of that, that's what we're all looking for.
Thank you. I think the intent here is to provide as much year-round residential housing as is possible, acceptable, and feasible. It's just the label that may have some constraints that make it a little difficult to fit these all into this quote workforce unquote. But the intent is absolutely to provide something that we all need as businesses and citizens of the village. So I would absolutely convert the second floor. I'm happy on a longer range to convert the ground floors as the leases come up. You know, I agree completely that year-round housing that's not $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month for people who are working and helping to support the village. So I'm there. I think we're talking semantics and whatever the village trustees thought, that whatever they had approved and how we get to the other side of this issue, because I think we're all on the same page. We want housing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I have another question. I looked over the plans today and it seems that both buildings are going to be really right on Viridian Way. So there doesn't look like there's room for any grass.
Yeah, there's a 6 foot or 8 foot setback between the sidewalk and the porch. So, and the buildings themselves are set back 8 feet through a porch that faces onto that strip of shrubbery, 6 foot strip. So, yeah, that's it. We need to, it's not a wide site. We are trying to maintain the proper aisle space for the emergency equipment so that they might be able to access the rear of the building as well. So that gets us an extra wide parking area back there. And it compresses that area along the sidewalk on Viridian. But that area will be planted with shrubbery to separate it from the parking, from the sidewalk, excuse me. And again, there will be a 2-story porch facing out onto it. So I don't think it'll be as if a building wall is like pressing up against you there. It'll be, an open arcade of porches facing out on that way. That's the intention.
Yeah, it seemed very slim. For most plants get a little bit larger than, let's say, the 6 foot, unless we're putting up hedges or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, some of these are designed to climb up onto the columns of these porches to create a trellis, to make kind of a vertical green wall, in fact.
I looked at one video today that showed the hotel guest walking out onto like a green space, and it doesn't seem like that exists.
Oh, you saw a rendering?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that was the first rendition that we had where we were taking
Justin,
over.
can you put the rendering up for just a little bit of
this is how
history?
we started.
Yeah. We started this by hoping that we would be able to potentially green over Viridian or make it some pavers with grass in the middle, so we had emergency access and maintained it as a road.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Yeah.
Right.
The trustees did not support making it was a 55,000 square foot green space between the existing Southampton Inn and the proposed new suites at 71.
I remember the presentation where Mr. Viridian's son spoke about how he didn't want Viridian Way to go to the wayside. But I was curious when I saw this today where this was fitting in with the plan that we're looking at now.
It doesn't.
It was abandoned. It's
That's too bad. Yeah.
It is too bad. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as you see along the edge of the building, we're trying to soften it up with similar types of plantings, and then things will be growing up the building to try to soften it somewhat. But yes, as is the case with the present building, it is fairly close to the sidewalk along.
And it seems to go very far back. building seems to go very, very far back, and it seems to be there's parking spaces right into the green space that's behind it.
Want to bring the site plan back up, Justin, please? Thank you. So at the very north end or the left-hand side there, we do have the sewer treatment plant. It's bordering some triangular green spaces that are owned by the village of Southampton. That's where some of the green, you will be able to see green between this and the Cooper's Farm subdivision. And in addition.
Oh, wait. What do you mean you'll be able to see green? We'll be able, we would be looking at a hotel from the green space?
Which green space?
To the north of the Southampton Inn, if I guess maybe we want to go to the wider view of the properties. There are several parcels to the north of this site that are owned by the village.
Right. But you just said you were going to make that.
No.
Right now, it's basically filled in, and deer roam that green space.
I think what Dee Dee was saying, Jane, is that there'd be like from the hotel, there would be this borrowed view into the green space, so that it's not that from the hotel, you're going to be looking into property that isn't theirs, that's all green. So
okay.
So the visual effect would be.
I was under the impression what she meant was taking down the green that was there so that there was more green for those in the hotel. But from the green space, we're going to be seeing a 3-story hotel.
You're going to be seeing a 2.5-story hotel, which is that's what's there now, except that the very northern buildings, AB, which apparently were never built, and I'm not really sure what the history of that was. We're going to be filling in A, B, C, D with these 2 new buildings there. Yes. You can
Right.
see
It
from
just
what's
seems
out.
like they're going so far into the back of the lot there that they're right on top of the green space was really my point. That the 2 parking spaces that you show in the site plan literally abut the green space.
They have all the requisite setbacks, and in addition, the STP is approximately 240 square feet. It has all the setbacks, and we'll have green planted around it. That's the little rectangular.
Yeah. And actually, we are adding more green space than is there now. Presently, between all that asphalt parking and the existing buildings and pavement on the site now, it's 88% impervious. When we calculate what we're going to put here between the buildings and the pavement we're proposing, it's 81%. Not great, but significantly better than what is existing now. Just consider.
Are those, this is so small in my screen, and I don't want to open up the package in front of everybody, but are those parking places along Viridian Way on the west side of this?
Oh, those are
proposed
dimension lines.
Dimension lines, okay.
Yeah.
So there aren't very many parking spaces here, are there?
There's a total of 57 car spaces, which is in compliance with the VB zone requirements. We have a chart and zoning data on page 4 of this set.
I'll look at that.
Certain
So that
uses
actually,
are allowed a reduction of 60% of the normals in this zone, and we take advantage of that.
Did you say that
Wait,
again?
what was that?
Yeah.
There are certain uses in the VB zone which are allowed a 60% of the normal rate for parking, such as hotel.
A hotel is,
that I just to clarify, that applies to the commercial uses and non-residential uses. But under the section 116.5 F, I think 10.
Yes, 5F.
It actually requires 1 space per transient unit, which sort of makes sense because you wouldn't want to have a reduction in, pretty much you would expect people to come by car to a hotel. So that reduction doesn't apply for the hotel units, just for the commercial spaces.
Right, there's a chart of the parking. There are 38 keys So there would be 38 parking places. And then we also have one parking place for each of the proposed residential, whether it be workforce or market rate
Okay,
year-round
so-
rental.
And
The
what
other
And
six.
what about the
There's
staff that
another-
works at the hotel?
Most of the staff is accounted for on 91 Hill Street. There will be additional housekeepers and one maintenance person assigned here. And we have that also in the calculations. And
Not that I
in
want more
addition,
parking.
there's-
I'm never in favor of more parking, but it just does seem like it's gonna be crowded.
There's one suggestion which maybe I'm not supposed to bring up here, but I know we also, in compliance with code, have 2 truck loading docks. I don't know if we're allowed to bring this up, but we don't really have trucking. We don't really have deliveries, but I suppose Amazon will deliver to a hotel guest who forgets a bathing suit and doesn't want to buy it on Job's Lane, which we hope they will. We could potentially take one of the loading docks behind building 4, I think is the designation, the building on the corner of Viridian and Hill. If that could be green space, it could be additional regular parking spaces, but again, then that would not be in accordance with the letter of the code.
But
Is that all
Kathy,
right?
are you saying that this existing parking calculation doesn't meet the letter of the code?
I think what messes, there are so many parking spaces that are required
Just the-
for the commercial space. So that brings the number way up, but that 60% of that number applies. Then there is one, there are parking spaces required for the market rate apartment units, the workforce housing units, and for each of the hotel rooms. And
Correct.
We have a
And
chart on drawing 4 that
Okay.
lists all those things. That's our understanding of the requirements.
yeah, so the 60% adjustment is, and I can go to the code section. I believe it's here. At least one off-street parking space for each guest unit to be provided for the resort hotel use. And one for each of the workforce housing units.
One for each guest or one for each unit?
unit.
Unit.
One for each unit.
So it's underparked. It's underparked.
No, it's parked in, again, I believe when we had our pre-submission conference with the planning board, might have been Alan, one of you had suggested that there was this reduction within the village business for the commercial spaces. So the parking that we have outlined is exactly what the requirement is, which includes the residential as well as one for each of the hotel suites, as well as for the potential employees who would again be over 3 different shifts.
So Kathy, just so that I'm understanding what you're saying, on this chart where it says hotel suites, required should be 38,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
The 60% of the required parking applies to the commercial use.
Well,
So
isn't a hotel suite a commercial use?
It is, except that in 116.5F10, it specifically says that you need one, and that was, and let me know if you see that. Can you see the code here?
Yes, you showed it to us before, yeah.
Okay, so this is from that section.
Wait,
of
go
the
back. I
code.
want to see it again. No.
Okay.
Oh, guest unit. Okay.
Wouldn't that be before the 60% is applied?
The
That would be
60%
anywhere
doesn't
in the
pertain
village.
according to,
We can get clarification from the trustees if this was a consideration, but this is my, even just my own intuition is that you would want to have one space per guest unit because everybody's coming by car. I mean, I can't say everybody, but
Well,
most
maybe not
people
in the
come to
village.
hotels by cars.
Well, we'll see, because I understood it to be that is the requirement, but in this BB zone, it is, there's a reduction there because it is a walkable area.
Yeah, I think, Kathy, I think we'll need further clarification on when the 60% adjustment gets applied.
Right.
Is it truly exempt in all of the hotel suites, or does it apply after the one per?
Right.
I mean, again, the commercial space for 6,500 square feet seems to be, in my opinion, as per the code, overparked as it is. I don't think Dee Dee has 22 cars associated with the commercial spaces as they stand today.
No.
So, in all likelihood, that number would drop, and the total 57 provides adequate parking to include the 38 hotel suites and the commercial spaces.
Additional staff.
And yeah, and again, we're including 2 additional for staff, which again is mostly accommodated for on the other property. But I think just getting clarification on if that adjustment does apply at all for the hotel suites would be beneficial.
Absolutely.
So, and this was complicated, as you know, this code sends you around in circles. You all see that.
Yes.
The further I dug into it, this was the other condition I found, was that the special conditions and safeguards set forth in this section of the code, which is actually special exception criteria, so they're sending us there. This is related to hotel. If you look at this section of the code, this says that you need to, that only 1 unit per 3,000 square feet of land area is permitted for a hotel. And so that you would need 2.5 acres to have 38 units. So that's another thing that I want to get clarification from the trustees on, is if this is something that was considered at that time.
From the trustees and maybe the building department.
Building department, good point.
Yeah, well, this was all, if I may say, this was all vetted with the former, with Chris Talbot before he left. But he didn't have any problem.
Okay, and then just so I'll finish. My last comment actually goes back to the, you had brought up the truck loading spaces. And just looking at these, it's not good planning to have anything back up onto a roadway. So having a truck loading space, whether it's going to be used very often or not, is not something that you want to have back up. So that is one of the design questions that we noticed right off the bat. Those were the big things that we had.
Okay, we can evaluate the location of those.
Yeah. I mean, we are working on a report that identifies the completeness, but I wanted to make sure that you are aware of those design considerations. So you can think about that, and then we can get some feedback from the trustees.
No, we appreciate that, Kathy.
Dee Dee, I have a question. She's still there?
Here, yes.
Yep,
thank
hi,
you.
hi. My question is, would you consider having fewer units if you had more, like some were presidential suites that were much larger and had a much higher price tag on them?
This is such an iterative process. So the suites have to be under 600 square feet in order to utilize 150 gallons per day for Suffolk County Water Authority. And then the larger suites where we've duplexed the second floor into the half floor would be I think it's 225 gallons per day. And Brian can, of course, opine. So I guess it's a couple of things. The hotel is not one of those, $1,200 a night super presidential gold fauceted types of brand. It's to be bringing families and corporate groups and wedding groups and tourists from all over, although the last year and a half it's been mostly local. And we hope that they very much appreciate, respect, and enjoy the village and spend some money. Would I consider it? I don't know that the market for this brand is for the, I mean, it's not for super excessive, whether it's for the year-round rental housing or whether it's for the suites themselves. But at this point, we're noodling it through with you to determine the best plan that fits the economics and the market condition. And I guess that's a very long-winded way of saying, not really. It sort of blows Brian's calculations.
Have you done a traffic study? Because how is this going to impact traffic on that sort of busy intersection of Hill Street?
I believe we have a no impact. Linda will speak about that, but having put a proposal through for another hotel that Nelson and Pope worked on, a decade ago. I mean, the thing about hotel is that people check in sometime around 4, which is a terrible time to be leaving the village with the trade parade, but not a horrific time for arriving. And then they check out at around 11 in the middle of the day, which sort of it isn't the worst timing for the check-in and check-out. And the number of trips is very small. Many of our guests, not many, but I would say maybe 20% do arrive by the jitney, or they arrive from the Long Island Railroad, especially in the summertime. And once they are on property, they walk to everything. And as you may know, we have a polka dotted van that takes people to the beach in the summertime, so we don't end up with 90 cars from the inn crowding the parking lots. We have bicycles that are available to the guests. So I think compared to retail or compared to commercial, where you have more trips in and out and you're sticking with more or less a 9 to 5 type of time horizon, the traffic itself is lighter.
That building has had a restaurant in it, the Plaza Cafe. It's had the building department, any number of building contractors with employees, the radio station, as you say. It's probably going to see less traffic as a hotel with 38 units than it did with all of that.
Right, but it's fairly empty at this point, other than the restaurant, right? What else is in there?
Right now? Dee Dee will have to answer that. I don't know what else is in there.
It has the restaurant. It has some builders. It has a gym, but I've been holding most of the spaces empty now with the, looking forward to being able to take the building down and replace it with a different, better building, better use, we hope.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. I mean, there's a lot to consider here, obviously. And we'll get the memo to the trustees to get some clarification. Kathy and Alice, is there anything I'm missing?
That's it for me.
Okay. All right.
So I'm trying to pull together a report that makes sense to you as well. That actually gives the background, how is this approved and what are the approvals that are needed and the process? And then what are the missing pieces that we need to continue the review? So I'm working on that, trying to get that out in the next couple of days. So I will try very hard to get that to you this week.
Great.
Okay, I will, for my part, I will work together with Alice and Kathy to coordinate getting anything they need.
Thanks, Linda. And Tony, I can help you if you want to put together a memo to send to the trustees so they can get all of their review information, and then hopefully we can proceed with a little more ease and clarity.
That would be great. Thank you all for your patience. I know this is tedious, but we really sort of wanted to go through it with a fine tooth comb and make sure we're doing our job for the village. If everybody's finished, we can move on to the next. Actually, I don't think there is anything else, but we can just end this discussion.
Okay. All right. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Lisa, I didn't know you were on.
Oh yeah, you were off my screen.
You were off my screen. Did I give you? I mean, did you have any input that you wanted to? You're muted.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, all of my questions were answered through the conversation.
Okay. All right. If anything
I had
comes
the
up,
same issues. I had the same issues regarding the workforce housing and the discrepancy there, but I think we do need further clarification because it's gray.
The code
Okay.
is the code's vague, so it makes it difficult, so.
okay.
Okay,
Is
Well, I'll
Kathy
bring-
talking to us?
I'll just bring the agenda back on.
Okay. Okay, that was 71. Minute approvals. I have to be honest, I'm not prepared for minute approvals.
So for next week?
Yeah, can we do it at the
Okay.
meeting?
Yes.
They're kind of all over the place in my emails. Some of them are in my Southampton email, some of them are my personal email, so I have to gather those together.
Tony, when I send them over to you, I usually send to the Southampton one. I can compose another one.
No, that's on me. It wasn't a comment at all. I'll do
I'm
my
happy-
homework.
I'm happy to
I'll
put
put
them
them
all
together.
together, but September 7th is missing off the agenda and it should be on there. The only one I had an issue with was August 2nd. I did not cover that meeting, so I'm not sure if the comments that were made, I don't know if anybody has any information on that.
I recall reviewing those minutes and I thought they were thorough and I didn't see any reason for any changes.
Okay.
But I've got to do a little homework there.
Okay. Would you like,
Alan,
would
are you
like-
going to help me with this, Alan?
No,
The keeper of the minutes?
I think I got all of Alan's comments.
no.
Alan, are you
I
feeling
missed,
all
I
right?
missed, three things have happened. I've missed a couple of meetings. Number one. Number two, our meeting sessions have gotten materially less complicated. And so
Right.
the complexity of the issues in front of us are reduced, and we have a lot fewer things we're worried about at the moment.
Right.
It may reflect, Tony, the fact that there were a bunch of things in the code that we used to have to do that they've taken away from us.
Mhm.
And it may reflect that the ones that had the most number of people weighing in, whose comments probably had to be recorded in the minutes, has gone
Okay.
way down. It's the subtraction, I guess, of Zoom as well. And so it's just simpler. I think all the ones I've seen that have gone to Kathy Eisman at Nelson Pope have been pretty routine, and Antoinette has probably sent them to Kathy before our getting them. So the minutes are all pretty clean. I think the order changed a little. So they're pretty straightforward when we get them. So if you can keep score as chairman, with the assistance of your huge staff, I'm with you.
Okay, got it.
So I do have Kathy and Alice's edits on August 26th. Alice didn't have any comments, but Kathy did on the meeting before that. I'm sorry, it went down. The July meeting, I had Kathy and Alice's comments. And on the September meeting, which is not listed on there, I had September 7th. Actually, I don't have the girls' comments. I have to check. I think you guys didn't have any. I think it was super quick, if I remember correctly.
I thought I did.
I will double check that and have that ready for you for Monday.
Okay, so I guess we can move to close this work session.
I'll make a motion that the work session be closed.
All right, I'll see everybody in a week.
I'll second
Zoom.
motion.
Monday, the 4th.
move forward.
All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, have a good night, everyone.